stop fighting with your hand knit or crocheted shawls and use this trick to take your favorite shawl pattern and turn it into a no fuss, no muss wearable wrap. In the last video, I talked to you about why and how to modify a typical shawl pattern into something completely different. And today we're going to sew up my modified Roman Villa shawl rectangle into a beautiful wearable wrap over. But first, if you haven't watched part one, consider going to do that now. Here's the link to it. Or you can skip it completely and watch this snappy recap. I am impossibly hopeless at styling shawls. I really, frankly, just suck at it. I can only get it to stay styled for about 3 seconds. If I breathe, it all falls apart because there are so many gorgeous shawls out there, but I'm not going to wear them. So what am I going to do? The solution is that I now convert all shawl shapes to a rectangle shape, and then I whip them around and sew them together into what I call a wrap over. I have knit so many beautiful shawls over the years, and I do not wear them. The only way I could make a shawl look good is just to drape it over me and stand completely still and take a picture. Let's talk about the benefits of a wrap over versus shawls with loose ends. Number 1, they don't fall off. 2, they don't need accessories to keep them on. 3, they show off the design in full because it is wrapped flat around your body. 4, they are really easy to modify. And last but not least, number 5, you will wear this. It's a really good example of how to convert something that looks really complex into a different shape. Okay, so I'll see you at the hand cam. This is the Roman Villa shawl, and you can see that it is a crescent shape. First thing we need to do is figure out how big a rectangle do you need. What I needed to do was figure out the sequence of how the charts are going to go, and that was pretty easy because I could look at this and read through the instructions and see this is section 1, section 2, section 3. So that's going to work. I figured that's 80 stitches is going to work. That's essentially how I mapped out the shawl into a rectangle format. Clear as mud. No sleeveys. Right you are, Oscar. It's almost like wearing a sweater, but you don't have to knit any sleeveys. It's definitely benefit number 6. Hang around to the end for the very cool wearable wrap micro fashion show. And in the meantime, let's go sew this together. Here's the Roman Villa shawl that I converted from the crescent shape in the original pattern into a rectangle that's ready to be wrapped around and sewn together into a wrap over. So once you've made your beautiful modified rectangle shawl, then what you're going to do is you're going to put it wrong side down and figure out which edge you want to be the bottom down here. This is where I chose. You'll see this little marker right here. Let me bring this in so you can see it. It says, oops, fix this mistake. I dropped a stitch there and I put this adorable little marker on there to hold the place so that I could go back and fix it later. So this is going to be the bottom edge right here. Ooh, there's some of my gray hair on the wrap. Whoopsie. And we're going to fold that down at a right angle like that. So you've made almost a triangle with this bottom corner. And then we're going to take the opposite end of the shawl and place it right along there, like that. So you can see you have a very weird, move this back a bit so you can see. We have kind of a very weird shape, but this from here to here is where we're going to sew this together. You can see on my edge that I have some places where I've done I-cord. I've done some I-cord here. I did I-cord around the edge up to here. And there are other places where there's no finishing at all. It doesn't really matter. You could have I-cord everywhere if that's how you did your shawl, is did all I-cord edges or whatever kind of finishing you did, it's fine. We're going to be able to sew this up just fine with and without the I-cord. It'll look great. Don't fret. So the first thing you want to do, and I recommend that you do this before you add any edging or finish the shawl, is put this together this way, wrap it around this way, and pin it with some little removable, you could use safety pins. These are little removable, what they call light bulb markers. I don't know if you can see them in that crystal glass all that well. There, okay, little light bulb markers. And we're just going to pin it together. This is what I did. I pinned it together and then I tried it on. So we're going to pin this up the edge. I won't bore you to death by pinning it all the way. So that will be very boring, but you get the idea. Pin it evenly all the way up. And then we're going to take this and sew up that edge. So what I'm going to do now is take you back to my desk and show you close up how to do this sewing up. And then at the end, during the very cool micro fashion show, you're going to see the big reveal of the Roman Villa shawl transformed into a wearable wrap over. See you back at the desk. Here we are with our edges pinned together, the bottom edge of one end and the side edge, and then the very end edge of the other end of the shawl. And we're going to sew it, seam it up where we've pinned it up here. You've tried it on, you know that it's the right depth, and you know that it's the right length, and it's hanging the way you like. You don't feel like you need to add any more width this way or any more length that way to get through. You're good with it, and we're ready to sew. I did not line up these edges on purpose when I was doing my planning, but they came up pretty close. So I'm going to just ease in this bottom bit here so that this line continues on, even though it's not the same color. I think it'll look good if the sewing continues straight on this way. So we're going to do that. I did realize once I got down here that I did not do an I-cord edge along here. It's just the way the navy rolled up, but that's okay. If you're sewing it and you've got part I-cord and part not I-cord, that's all right. It's going to be just fine. It doesn't have to be absolute perfection for this part. It just needs to look good from the outside. So here's my end. I left myself an extra long end, as I often do. So we'll just unpin this little butterfly and open it up. And I can feel a knot right there, so I'm going to cut that off. And there it goes. Oh, yeah. Nope. Yeah, we're good. Okay. Got my handy dandy darning needle and we'll thread it. And I'm going to start sewing it up. Okay, I hope I've got enough light here. I've got all the lights on I could possibly have on. I'm going to start by grabbing the very ends of the I-cord and sewing them together into a little bit of a figure 8 down here, just to get it started. Now you're going to want to work your sewn edge one stitch in from the edge, whatever that looks like for you. If you're working and sewing it up and part of it has an I-cord, rather than just going one stitch in on the edge, you would just glide your needle through, here's some I-cord edge here. Just glide your needle through a couple of stitches, 2 threads, just like you would a mattress stitch, and sew it up like anything else. And you know, if you've never sewn anything up before, because there are so many patterns these days that don't require sewing, don't worry about it. Again, this doesn't have to be absolute perfection.
we're just wanting a clean looking seam on the outside. So I'm going back and forth and picking up 2 threads on one side, 1 stitch in, 2 threads on the other side, 1 stitch in. It might be a little tricky to see what you're doing when you're going through the mosaic because you got the color changes going on, but again, don't stress over it too much. Then every inch or so, we're going to just pull it snug, but not too tight. We don't want to distort it. There you go. It's looking good. I'm just going to go a little bit further so we can see what happens. And while we're here, while we're watching this really boring part of me sewing, I just thought I'd mention that if you're having a good time today, you might just go down there by the description box and click on that little thumbs up icon for me, and maybe even subscribe if you haven't subscribed before, and if you're able to, that would be great. I'd appreciate that very much. So here we go, a little bit further. Oh, and also, if you get a chance, or you're in the mood, or you feel like you have something to say, leave us all a comment and let us know if you're working on a modified wrap right now, or if you have a wrap idea and you'd like some advice. You can tell me which pattern you're considering working on, and I can go take a look at it for you and see if I have any suggestions for doing the modification. There, okay, we're getting the idea. Let me take this pin out so you can see what's happening here. So here it is, looking pretty good on the outside, and on the inside we've got a regular old seam, but that's not going to matter because you're never going to wear this sucker inside out. All right, clear as mud? Excellent. I'm going to go finish sewing this up, and then we're going to go back and have a little chat about something important. And at the end of the video, you're going to see me wearing this beautiful Roman Villa wrap over. I am so excited.
Well, what do you think? Have I convinced you yet that wrap overs are an excellent option for your shawl knitting? I'm absolutely loving them, and I haven't even barely scratched the surface of playing this wrap over game. I have 2 more previously knit shawls that I want to convert into wrap overs. One of them, as you may remember from part 1, is sequence knit corrugated shawl, and that needs some width added to the bottom. I've already frogged the lengths back, so this one won't take too long to convert. I'm excited about that. The other one is what I call my New York shawl, my CoLab shawl. That is right now a triangle. This one needs to be completely frogged back and re-knit, but every time I look at this, I wish it were a wrap over, so I just need to make that happen. And then, just recently, I got myself a kit from an online shop called Your Next Knit. And it is for the Artus shawl, and I got it in this fabulous colorway. So I'm going to swatch that up and rework this shawl, which is also a triangle shawl, into my wrap over, and I'll be showing you that somewhere down the road. Now remember, you can go back and watch part 1 as many times as you need, and feel free, please, to post your questions down below if I glossed over anything or I missed something completely, and I'll do my very best to answer them and get you all the information you need. In the meantime, knit well. I'll see you next time, but don't leave yet, because you're going to see this delightful little micro fashion show of the wearable wrap overs I have done so far. Have a great week. Bye.